Hey, my name is Matt Mulcahy. I'm the Director of Business Development at ProSource, and today I wanted to touch on some recent rule changes from the Federal Trade Commission. So the Federal Trade Commission has had a comment period open for the Safeguard Rule, asking for feedback and proposed changes. That comment period has closed and they've solidified any changes to the rulemaking. So for those of you that don't know what the Safeguards Rule is, it's a rule set of cybersecurity requirements that are meant to help businesses protect consumer financial data. If you're a business that is asking for non-public financial data from consumers, these rules apply to you. Could be an auto dealership doing financing, could be a CPA firm working on taxes, could be a financial advisor helping with investments. If you are working with non-public financial information, this is important. So I'll link down below a little deeper article that shows more granularly the rules for businesses. But what I really wanted to touch on were the solidified cybersecurity requirements. So let's hop down to that. The first and most important thing, we see this in HIPAA with a designated compliance officer, but for the Safeguard Rule, they're asking you to designate a named individual to champion this program. This can be an internal employee or an external vendor, but they need to be named. That's really the person that is going to take ownership of this and help your business work through this program. The next one is you have to conduct a risk assessment. You can't know where to go if you don't know where you're starting. So this really helps you establish a baseline. What do we have in place and where are our gaps or where's the risk? So the first thing you have to do is understand what your current disposition is and then chart the path forward. There's a couple specific controls here based on your risk assessment, access controls, understanding where your data lies, encrypting data in transit and at rest. So when you're transferring it internally, externally, and where you're storing that data needs to be encrypted. Understanding access to apps, multi-factor authentication, whether that's a push notification, a hard token, an SMS text message. There's a bunch of ways you can do that. Making sure you're disposing of customer information securely. Anticipate and evaluate changes to your IS systems. Really, that's just well-practiced change management. And then maintaining a log of authorized users' activities and making sure that no one is improperly accessing your systems. So they want you to really put some fundamental cybersecurity best practices in place and then ongoing testing of those cybersecurity controls. So one of the most important things down here is training your staff as well. Your weakest link is your staff. They can click a link that kneecaps your entire cybersecurity infrastructure and circumvents all those great controls you have in place and you're paying for. Monitoring your service providers, you have to have, expert outside help in most cases. We know this is a problem with cybersecurity talent shortages, so it's very important to work with a competent provider that can help you fill those cybersecurity gaps because you probably don't need a full-time cybersecurity person for this. Making sure your program's current and then having a written incident response plan. So if something goes wrong, what I tell everyone is you can never be 100% safe. You always have to care for that 1% chance that something's going to happen. And in the event that that thing does happen, you have a written plan how to address that. And then last but not least, your qualified individual, whether that's an outside provider or an inside resource, they have to report to your board or your owner. So they're making sure that there's no plausible deniability from the C-suite anymore. You can't say I didn't know this was happening. There's been too many scenarios where people have just said that I wasn't aware. I didn't know this was going on. I didn't know that we needed to do this. And that's just not going to be an acceptable excuse anymore. So a great update, I think, from the FTC, but yet again, another federal agency pushing down rules that might contrast with a different agency. So all this is a lot to keep up with. If you're wondering how this applies to your organization, feel free to reach out. We run a free IT double check and it touches on pretty much all of the pieces here and will help you begin your your risk assessment and understanding where you lie and where the gaps are in terms of aligning to the Safeguard rule set. So thanks so much for watching. If you like the video, like it below. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM us. Once again, Matt from ProSource. I'm the Director of Business Development. I hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.